Hi everyone, it's Becca from Scratch Magazine here. I hope you're all having an amazing day. Now, today I'm going to be joined by a salon expert. Yes, he's a salon mentor. He's half of the coaching company Salonology, and he's also the author of a brand new book, The Successful Salon Marketing System. It's Ryan Power. So excited to have him here soon, and he's going to be sharing all about what he offers to salon pros just like you, about his new book, and also his amazing expert advice, which we can't wait to hear. So if you want to hear all about that, stay tuned, and Ryan will join in a minute. I can see he's requested, so I'll add him in. And of course, any questions you have throughout, please do not hesitate to ask, and I can ask Ryan for you. So let's add him in now. See if that works. Hello.
Good morning. How are we doing? Oh, good afternoon, just.
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very, very well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's amazing to have you on here. I can't believe you haven't done this before.
No, no, it's true. This is my first ever co-live on Instagram. Who'd have thought?
I can't believe we haven't interviewed you before, but it's amazing to have you here. And also, you're one of our Scratch Stars judges, so that's great to have you here.
I was, yeah, absolutely. With the competition, the level of competition being super high again this year, as always. So it's great to see and be able to give a bit back to the industry.
Oh, it's great to have you doing it. So, first of all, for any people watching who don't know who you are and what you do, could you tell us a little bit about you and your career background?
Yeah, sure. So it might surprise you to learn that I haven't always worked in this industry. Never really planned to, if I'm completely honest, but here I am. So yeah, I mean, I've always worked within the business sphere. So I graduated, did business at university over 20 years ago now. God, that makes me feel so old saying that out loud. And then somewhat surprisingly, I was a mortgage advisor for many, many years. I worked in financial services, but I always wanted to have my own business. So at that point, I left that industry, set up my own business, a jewelry business of all things, which I did for a fair while. And then I sold that. And then I concentrated at this point. Holly, my wife, had already set up her day spa and salon. So I wanted to put a lot of the skills I'd learned in the marketing and business sphere into the salon, which we did. And yeah, we grew that. And then as a result of that, we kind of realized that we were doing a lot of things that maybe other businesses around us weren't doing. And we figured that there might be lots of other people that could benefit from that expertise. And yeah, Salonology was born. And that was 9 years ago now we've been doing this for.
Amazing. So tell us a little bit about Salonology. You just mentioned it there. So what does that offer to brands?
Yeah, sure. So, so Holly, my wife, and I, we co-founded Salonology 9 years ago now, and really it was born out of wanting to help other salon owners, whatever part of the industry that falls under, and just to help them to grow their business, but also live a life that actually lights them up as well. Because what we see time and time again is people set up a business and they've got these great plans and these great ideas of how it's going to work, and you work less hours for more money, and all those things that you think about, and then actually when they actually get into it, typically it's much, much harder than people realize, and thus we really wanted to help people out, because as I mentioned a moment ago, we had huge success with our own day spa and salon, but also what we had with that business is we were lucky enough to have not only a lot of profit from it, but also it wasn't reliant on us for the day-to-day. So we were able to go in as and when we saw fit, and it really did give us both that sort of profitability and freedom, which so many people desire. And we thought, other people must want this, so let's help others achieve this as well. So over the last 9 years, we've done a variety of courses and guides and programs, those sorts of things. We've helped more than 5,000 salon owners, and for the last 5 years, we've concentrated that via our Gold Club, which is a group coaching program and a group community, which has got, well over 400 members. And as I say, we that is a kind of unique blend of both teaching people what they need to learn to grow their business, but also doing it within the environment of a real community sort of family feel, because it's really lonely being in business. Anyone will tell you that. It doesn't matter how big your team is. One of my previous businesses, I had a team of over 30 people. And when you're at the top, it is real lonely because no one understands what you're going through. So to be in a environment where you can let off steam or whatever it might be, and other people say, I know what that feels like. There's real value to that.
Definitely. I mean, we have so many salon pros saying that to us, that it is such a lonely sort of industry to be in. And I think people as well are quite scared to ask for help, maybe.
100%.
So why is mentoring, like from Salonology, so important?
Well, interesting you mentioned there that so many people struggle to ask for that help that maybe that they need. And I think you're spot on with that. And I feel maybe a lot of people see that as kind of like potentially a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
They just don't want to ask for the help. It's like, I'd rather struggle and try and figure it out for myself than actually ask for the help. But when you look at it, it's like every single top athlete you could ever name has got a coach, probably multiple coaches, right? Usain Bolt's got half a dozen, right? Every top sports team has, every president has, every politician has. They've all got coaches, they've all got mentors, they've all got this group of people around them that they're able to lean on for their experiences, So I feel as though everybody should have access to some sort of coaching, some sort of mentorship, if they are looking to go somewhere different to where they are now. If you want to just stay where you are, which some people do, and that's great, they found where their level, then perfect, you don't need it. But if we want to go somewhere we've never been before, our current skill set is got us where we are, and it's not going to get us any further, otherwise we'd have worked it out by now.
Exactly.
So if you want to go somewhere different, then you need to get around some different ideas, and you need to get around some different people and some different strategies and that type of thing. So the mentor can push you on to greater heights. They will hold you accountable to it as well, which is, again, huge when you're the business owner, because who do you answer to as the business owner? No one. No one's going to say, are you really doing what you said you were going? Are you pushing yourself? No one's going to say that to you, but a coach or a mentor can. And so many of us, we're operating well below our real potential level, So having someone else to not push, but rather give you a bit of a leg up, pull you up to the top of the wall, can be really, really helpful. And I feel additionally as well, mentor can help you with those goals. Think about what you're really trying to achieve and why you're trying to achieve. Most people don't have a real plan. It's just kind of like, I'll just write as much business as I can this week, and hopefully I'll have made enough money to pay my mortgage, and it often doesn't really go much further than that. And if that's all that you want from life, I'm not saying that isn't cool. If that's all you want, then great. But if you want something more, if you do want to go up to a different level, then, as I say, you typically need to get around some different people. And then also as well, it will increase your confidence in yourself as a business owner. That again is something which, as an industry, I feel like we're kind of lacking a little bit in, for whatever reason it might be. We've got some amazing people in our industry, and it really saddens me when I look at some people with the potential and think, oh, just with a few little tweaks here and there, you could create something, totally different, and be in a happier place for you. So I definitely think, there's a whole load of reasons why people should think about having someone in their life that's able to hold them accountable, ask those questions that sometimes we can't ask of ourselves.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people are maybe a bit scared of sort of they feel like maybe they're giving the power over to someone else, but it's working with someone else, isn't it? It's not necessarily
Oh, it's a teamwork thing. It's, it's let's work together, and we can get you somewhere new, and I feel that, and also the other thing as well, I think a lot of people feel it's going to be really, really expensive. I think a lot of people think, how can I afford that if I can't afford this other thing,
Yeah.
And it's what I found personally, from my personal experience, every time I've made an investment in myself, it's paid dividends. And
Yeah.
twice I've paid over £25,000 to someone's help. Twice I've done that. And both times it paid for itself within 6 months and then some.
Yeah.
And we just have to be able, I feel we have to be able to invest in ourselves to be able to take our business forward. Now, you don't need to invest £25,000. You can invest just less than what you would spend on a decent meal out every month and still get the help that you need. An investment in yourself is one that pays back forever, for as long as you hold that knowledge. So when people say they can't afford it, and yet they then think nothing of going out and spending £100, £200 on a night out, dare I say £1,000 on a handbag or a pair of shoes, right? I can't afford that, but I can afford that. I think maybe that's maybe some of those priorities may be a little bit muddled up, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that long-term investment, isn't it?
Got it. Yeah, exactly. Invest in you now, and then you can buy all the shoes you want afterwards. Do it the other way around.
As well, we've had a comment from Sarah Johnson Facialist. She said, just joined and can say Ryan and Holly have really helped to take my business to another level. We'll be eternally grateful to them. So that's really nice.
Thanks, Sarah. That's a lovely thing to say. And do you know what? It's funny, but we often get emails saying things like, and that's why we do what we do. When you hear about someone who you've genuinely helped get from where they are to where they would like to be, that it makes what we do the most rewarding thing we possibly could. So I'm really grateful that she's taken the moment to say that.
And so we should talk about your new book.
Oh yeah.
Written. So we featured it on Scratch Magazine. There we go.
As if by magic.
Love it. So, I mean, we have a few copies in the office. I was looking the other day, obviously written about it. Sounds amazing. So tell us about it. What's it cover? What inspired you to write it?
Yeah, sure. So what inspired me to write is it's really the story of how we perfected our marketing system that we have within our own day spa and salon, which I mentioned earlier, that we were very fortunate. It was as a result of a lot of hard work, but also a lot of trial and error as well, that at the end, when we sold our salon after over a decade, we were in the position whereby it was profitable and we were also not being lent on every day. We often used to joke, Holly used to only go in twice a week, and that was because she wanted to, not because she had to, And one of the big reasons why we got to that was because we had a marketing system in place. And that means we had certain things set up in our business which automatically attracted people into our world, and then encouraged them to come back more and more regularly and spend more and more money when they were with us. Now, at the time, we didn't realize we had a system when we were building it. We were just trying loads of stuff and seeing what worked and what didn't. And it took the best, a lot of those 10 years of trial and error. The first 5 were like not really all that much to write home about, especially the first few, because you're trying new stuff and you got to try it to see what works and what doesn't. But by the end, or quite a bit before the end, but as I say, toward the end, we realized that we had inadvertently created a system which will do all of those things, which will help you with your marketing immensely. And I figured it would be a perfect book, so I systemized it, and the book breaks down all the different parts that you need to put into place in your business step by step, and it's written so that you can tweak any of the elements and adapt it to the person reading its business. So it doesn't matter if you got big business, small business, it doesn't matter which whereabouts on the spectrum of beauty that you serve. It works for everyone. And I wanted something which people could copy and paste, because I'm only too aware of what a problem it is for so many people. attracting clients in their business, and not just clients, but the right clients. You know, it's easy to attract the ones you don't want, but we want the we want the good clients, you know.
Yeah.
And as I say, we tried just about everything we could think of. So the book tells the story of what we tried, what worked, what didn't work. It's kind of warts and all. I don't want anyone to think it was all unicorns and rainbows, because it wasn't. We had we had plenty of stuff go wrong. So I talk about those things as well. But as I say, my goal is for the reader to be able to come away and understand what it takes to actually market your business and put a system in place that you can then have running on autopilot to a degree, attracting people constantly into your world.
Absolutely. It's that salon shortcut, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. We did all the hard work and the trial and error so that you don't have to. Yeah.
So I know we talk to a lot of people and they say, oh, but I wouldn't even know where to start with the system. So that's such a good idea to have that in place for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and as you say, you know, I'm acutely aware from the work that we do every day that most people who own a salon, or even just work for them, I say own a salon, you know, even if they're just working one-man band, working for themselves from their garden cabin or whatever it might be, most of those people, they would not consider themselves to be marketers or marketing types. You know, they probably never even got into business for that reason. Loads of salons I speak to never had any intention of ever owning a business in the first place, and they just find themselves owning one, right? Because an opportunity came up, or they hated their boss, or they wanted a bit of that perceived freedom. So as a result, they then land themselves in this position where it starts off great. You know, the first 3 or 6 months is easy when, you know, your motivation is high and everyone's bending over backwards to help you. It's after that point then where then you're like, oh, right, well, now I've got a business. I need some people. How do I get them? And that is the bit that we find that a lot of people struggle with, especially now in the changing world, where there was once a time where as long as you had a prime location on the high street, you're all right, because you're going to get every client you could ever need is going to walk straight past you. But the world isn't set up like that anymore. And even if you did have a location on the high street, even that isn't a guarantee of success, because there ain't as many people on the high street. So it's like, so let's try and help fill in some of those gaps for people.
Absolutely. And so for those that maybe haven't thought so much about the marketing, why would you say it's so crucial that they get on board with this and they read the book and they get a system in place?
Yeah. Well, for me, the reason why I am so passionate about marketing and why I rattle on about it all of the time is purely because it's the quickest route to the money. Okay. And that might sound like a real sort of capitalist pig comment, but I promise it's not, because whilst money might not be the most important thing in the world, for a business, it's, you know, it's right up there with oxygen. You know, it is the oxygen of your business. If you haven't got any money in your business, you're not going to last for very long. So marketing and getting your marketing right is the fastest route to the money. Okay, your business needs money to survive. The more of it it can have, the better. And that money comes from customers, and customers come from marketing. It is as simple as that. So that is why I'm so passionate. It's why I think it's the #1 skill that all business owners need to learn. And the sad reality of it, and I wish it wasn't this way, but this is what happens in the world, is that it's not the best salon, the best nail tech, the best stylist. That person who is the best isn't necessarily the best business, isn't necessarily the busiest, isn't necessarily the most profitable. In fact, you could be the world's greatest nail tech, and if no one knows you exist, you're going to be out of business next week. It's as simple as that. You know, people have to know you are there, and that comes from marketing, you know. So again, and I don't know if anyone watching has ever had the experience, but if there's a business up the road from you, or someone else in your town, a local competitor, and you know you're better than them, you do a better service than them, you've got a nicer environment, you use better quality products, all those things, and yet they're fully booked and you're not, then that is that really hurts when that happens. And the reason is because they're better at marketing than you. I know that isn't fair, but turns out the world isn't fair always, and that is the one area. So many people, if they just got better at doing that, again, and from some really simple stuff, it doesn't have to be, it's just like learn the principles, learn the basics, get some of the basics in place right away, and it can have a massive, massive difference to your business.
Absolutely. Love that. I feel like everyone needs to hear
that. I'll just get down off of my soapbox.
And so we're talking about the book, but that wasn't your first book. You had a book before this one. So how was that different?
So the first one, I got a copy. That first one was much thinner. First one was called "The Customer Is Always Right," and 7.5 other outdated myths which are destroying your salon business. And that one, I wrote that just because I thought it'd be a good idea to write a book. If I'm honest, I feel like writing a book. And one of those things where, I think everyone or a lot of people think I've got one in me somewhere. So I did. And it was really just a collection of thoughts. It wasn't really put together quite as professionally as the second attempt. But that said, it's a bestseller on Amazon. It's got more 5-star reviews than any other salon marketing book. So I am still proud of it. But really, it's more than anything, it's a collection of things which I kept seeing people doing, which I thought weren't necessarily the best ways they could do things, because there's a whole load of some of that real common advice that you hear over and over and over again. And a lot of time, from the bloke at the pub who, thinks he knows everything, that type of character, even though they've never had a business. And we get a lot of that sort of information going around. So it just kind of questions some of that more than anything, and gives an opposing way of thinking about some of these things.
I like that. I like the different mindset. It's helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so talk about that. What maybe, obviously don't want you to give too much away, so we want people to go read your books, but what are some common mistakes that you would say, you could tell us salon pros watching now to say, no, don't do that anymore?
Some things that people get wrong. Okay, I guess the number one biggie, let's start, and then, there's a lot of these. So let's just, so we'll just do 3, right? But I think number one, I'm going to say the biggest sin, if you like, business ownership sin, is going to be not knowing your numbers. And this is so important, because so many people have genuinely got no idea if they're making a profit or not with the treatments and services that they deliver. That is the first thing that when we work with people, it's the first thing that we get them to look at, right? Because most people, they don't really understand the relationship between the costs of your business and the money that's coming in, and how linked those two things are. There is I'm going to call it a plague across our industry. There is a pestilence on the land, which is that people don't charge their worth, which is that people don't charge enough. They're terrified to put up their prices, and it means a lot of times they work for a pittance as a result, sometimes unknowingly. It's like, I'm really busy, and then there's no money left at the end of the month. Why is that? And sometimes that's a self-limiting belief, and sometimes it's a bit of an ignorance toward the mathematics that are involved, and we can help with both. So that is definitely a real biggie, is knowing your numbers and understanding and making sure really that each service you deliver is profitable. Every single one needs to. And again, so many people are so quick to throw around a discount here and a discount. I'll give them a discount because I've known them for years, or I stand outside the school gate with them, or our kids go to school together. That is no reason to give someone money off in my, you wouldn't. If you bumped into them in the street, you wouldn't give them £10 out of your purse. So why are you doing that when they come to you? So that's a real biggie. And I think moving on from that, the second one is going after the wrong clients, having the wrong target client. There's, again, most people don't give enough thought to who they are trying to attract, and unwittingly, in many cases, from what they're putting out, they end up attracting all the wrong people. And what happens is then you end up getting into a price war with everyone else, and it's a race to the bottom. It's like, oh, I know I'm going to be cheaper, I'm going to be cheaper, I'm going to be cheaper.
Yeah.
And they're fighting over the worst clients, because they're the clients who don't value you, who don't, you know, who don't value your time, who cancel at the last minute, leave unfair reviews. You know, next week, oh, I've chipped a nail and it's all your fault because it definitely, no, I've definitely not smashed my hat. You know, everyone knows those clients. They're the worst ones, and everyone is fighting over them, and that makes no sense to me. And if you just adjust your messaging and adjust who you're trying to target, if you go at the top end of the market, there's less competition, and there's people that are more readily and more able to pay you more money. There are people that want to pay more money because they like to have the best of things. And there's no competition at that end of the market because everyone's fighting at the other end. You know, for most towns, there's going to be, for most towns, there are a whole host of salons that are all aiming at toward the bottom end of the market, and in most towns there's one or two high-end ones. Sometimes there isn't even one. And those ones have got no competition, and everyone is fighting at the bottom end for the clients that actually probably don't like you up dealing with them in the first place. So I think that is a real issue for a lot of people. And I'd say for the third mistake, or the third thing I see a lot of people doing, which I would recommend against, is building their business solely on social media. And this has got a couple of impacts to it. But the first issue with doing that, and there's a lot of people, especially on Instagram, and they've got everything on their Instagram. And the problem with that is, what happens if Instagram goes away? What happens if they change the rules overnight? What happens if they make you pay to play? What happens if you accidentally break one of their rules? You know, if you get your account suspended or taken away from you, which happens to people every single day, then your entire business is literally wiped out overnight. And I think that's a real mistake for people. I think that there is much more outside of social media. Millions of businesses have made millions of pounds before social media was even a thing. And social media is so competitive, and people's attention spans are so low that it's really difficult to really capture people's imagination. And I think there are other places where people can look to create relationships with clients that might be a bit easier for them to do, and has less competition, and potentially is going to cost them less as well. So I think thinking outside the box a little bit is a really smart thing to do. Go where your competition aren't, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. That's so good, isn't it? To know, sort of know your audience, who you want to attract, and how to find them.
Yeah, and that is the crux of what good marketing is. Really thinking about who I'm trying to get hold of, what is the message I need to share with them, and how can I put it in front of them where they'll actually see it. And that is like marketing in one sentence, if I can whittle it down that much. And it's something which so few people even think about. They're like, I'll just try and get some customers, anyone will do, I'm over here, everyone. And then they wonder why they end up getting clients who don't respect their time, that are a pain in the backside, you know, leave unfair reviews on social media, all those sorts of things.
Of course. And so you're saying that there's more than social media. So
definitely,
what other types of marketing do you think that pros should be utilizing?
What other types?
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the keys here is, again, it boils down to knowing your client. So the actual specifics of what works best, well, that's going to depend based on who it is you're trying to attract in the first place. So it's not that there is one type of thing which is going to work for everybody necessarily. It's going to be more about really thinking, right, that's the person I really want to have more of. And if, for example, let's say you've got an idea in your head, you've got that one client who you love, they're amazing, they take all of your product recommendations, they rebook there and then, they bring their friends, they leave you a 5-star review, bottle of wine at Christmas, the whole works, right? You think, oh, if only I could have 50 of those people, okay? So you start there and then you work back. Okay, so where do I find that person? Now, what is it that I need to put in front of them? Well, it might be that that particular client lives on one particular part of town, right? Well, if you know that, and you know that's one area of town, you can go and do things in that part of town that might get you noticed, right? You can put
Yeah.
things through those people's doors. You can speak to the other businesses that serve that community and see how you might be able to do something together. You know, you can run ads specifically just to tiny parts of parts of the town. So really think about who those people are and where they're hanging out, both online and also offline as well, because one of the real struggles that people have is they're going, well, Ryan, I'm posting to social media and I'm posting 10 times a day and I'm doing 20 stories and I'm, you know, and there's literally spending all day, you know, posting. But the problem is, unless you're paying to reach new people, the algorithm is just going to keep showing your stuff to the same people over and over and over and over and over again. And all you're going to do is bore them and tire them out eventually. You know, you're not, if you post 3 times instead of 1, that's unlikely to show it to 3 times the number of people. It's going to show it to the same people 3 times, if you're lucky, you know. So I think that's really important. And one of the other things which I love to talk about as well, which I haven't really touched on, which again anyone can do, a really good tip for anyone is get around the other side of the camera a bit more, because people buy people ultimately. And I see it all the time. And you look at someone's feed for their Insta, especially, by the way, nail techs are probably the worst for it, because what we do is so aesthetically pleasing, right? And you scroll through their feed or their grid and it's just before and afters, and literally nothing else. And I'm not saying they're not important, but what I am saying is they're not the only thing that's important. Other things are important too. And actually, when you give someone the opportunity to get to know you a little bit more and like you and trust you, at that point, they will become a much, much better client. And so many people are doing themselves a disservice. They don't even have their name on their profile, their actual, you know, human name, as it were, rather than the business name. They've got a photo of their logo. You know, you can't have a relationship with a logo. That's really difficult for someone to do. And if you were to put yourself out there a bit more, I feel that people would remember you much more, rather than just a sea of before and afters where you look the same as 20 or 30, 40, 50 other nail techs in your town. But they're going to remember your face, they're going to remember your voice, they're going to remember your name. So put yourself out there for those reasons. But also, we are in a celebrity obsessed world right now. To your clients, you are a minor, maybe very minor, a minor local celebrity of sorts, you know? Because if you bumped into your client when you're doing the shopping, big shop in Tesco, they're going to say hello to you. They're going to say hello. So that does make you, however minor, a little minor celebrity, right? And therefore, that means people are interested in your lives. They want to see what you're doing when you go on holiday. They want to know what you're up to on the weekends. They want to see pictures of your dog frolicking in a lavender field. Whatever it might be, let them get to know you a little bit better. Let them in. Don't just make it before and afters, before and afters, before and afters. Because however good those before and afters are, that's going to get boring to people quite soon. And being boring is going to be one of the quickest ways to turn people off, especially nowadays, because like everyone's attention spans are like that.
Absolutely. And what you're saying about all those different things that you need to show, I mean, they're the things that you talk about in an appointment anyway. So
absolutely. Exactly. You're just extending that out a little bit, and it will give you something to talk about in those appointments. Exactly. Because then someone will sit down and go, I saw your pictures of X, Y, Z. Oh my, and then they're talking to you like a friend. And when they're sort of in that, this is the one instance where them getting in the friend zone is a good thing, right? Because when they're in the friend zone, then they're going to recommend you more readily. They're going to not want to cancel on you, not want to let you down, not even dream of going to someone else, because you're not just their nail tech anymore. you're also their friend. And
Mm.
actually, it's not that difficult to get someone to that friend level, especially when we've got, you know, when we work in an industry where you're sitting down face to face talking about, you know, as we do, and helping them in that way.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to do, and it's worthwhile. You know, I feel like you can also then get more recommendations as a result as well, because
Mm.
people want to refer their friends. You know, if you've got a client and they've never recommended anyone to you, I'd be wondering why that would be, because they probably know 50 or 100 people in your town who probably all get their nails done somewhere.
Yeah.
Why aren't they sending them all to you?
Absolutely.
You know, either because you've never mentioned it, or because you haven't got in that friend zone yet.
Yeah.
And as I say, in this instance, that's a friend zone you want to be in.
Absolutely. And being a friend is being a loyal customer. So
Exactly.
it's what you.
Yeah, exactly.
So where should our audience go to find out about where they can buy your books and where they can access Salonology and all your mentoring services?
Yeah, sure. So, a few ways they can do that. I guess probably the easiest way is if they just comment under this video, book, then I'll reach out and I'll send them the details. But you can also go to salonmarketingbook.com to get my book, and you can find out more about what Salonology offer at salonology.uk. Or again, just comment something, tag me, whatever it might be, and I'll reach out to people and let them know what we can do. And yeah, thank you for this opportunity to be able to come and chat to everyone. I hope it's been valuable for everybody
It's
today.
been amazing. I mean, like all your advice, I'm going to take this back to scratch now.
Please do, yes.
It's been amazing. It's been such a pleasure to have you with us, sharing all your fantastic insight, and hopefully we can do it again soon.
Thanks, Rebecca. Yeah, look forward to it. Please feel free, and I hope you have a fantastic day.
You too. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Thanks so much. Bye.